Hey guys, welcome to another Retro Monday. Today I'm going to be playing Kirby's Dream Land for the Nintendo Game Boy. I did manage to have a couple of quick practices with this, not all the way to the end of the game. I used to have the game a long time ago, and I remember buying it several years after it was released actually. Didn't really have a problem getting through the game. It was quite straightforward, pretty basic for a platformer. And in fact, I did kind of avoid the game for quite a long time, mainly because I had heard, compared to Mario, it was very basic. Definitely aimed at a more younger age audience. And yeah, playing it, I totally agree with that. It really isn't that difficult to figure out what you need to do. But the Game Boy itself definitely had a younger age market, although it did have older people playing it with Tetris, things like that. So that was the midway boss. Now, when I say younger age audience, it's mainly down to the fact that you can skip large chunks of level just by floating across the screen. Obviously, if you're trying to go for a high score, then you probably won't want to do that. You'll just want to try and play it normally. So, there we go. It really is just a case of inhaling, spitting out the enemies, getting from A to B during the levels. So just got to head up here and get onto the end boss. Now, unlike future Kirby games, you can't actually steal other characters' abilities by inhaling them. This is actually the first game that doesn't have that, and obviously it was rectified for future games. And they were a lot longer as well. This game in particular is pretty short, half hour or so. Maybe an hour tops if it's your first time through. So the first boss is the big tree. Quite easy to avoid, just avoid his projectiles. Grab the apples that drop down. It's actually quite a lot of old 16-bit games that have trees as enemies. Castle of Illusion springs to mind. Grab the star. Yeah, the bosses do actually have a life meter as well, which just appears during that time. So, first boss, not too bad. So we're onto the castle. This one has quite a few different routes through the stage. I'm just going to go for the most direct though, really. So it's kind of like a smart bomb, destroys everything. Now, what I always thought was weird is when I originally bought the game, the box art had a white Yoshi, a white Kirby rather, and I had at that point believed Kirby to be pink. And looking into it, it does appear that when the game was coming over to Western areas, Nintendo of America weren't really sure on what colour Kirby was. There was a bit of confusion between Nintendo of Japan and Nintendo of America, and they thought he was a ghost, strangely enough. I guess I can see where they got that idea from, but no, he is actually pink, and ever since the Game Boy game, he has been colour rectified. Let's go and grab a couple of items in here. Bit of extra life, and that should give me the ability to fire. It's still not invincible, but it definitely helps. Just continue heading up here. It does actually remind me in a lot of ways of Super Mario Land 2. Just the look of the game and the level design. I'm not too sure which game came first, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was around the same time. They definitely share things in common. But Super Mario Land 2 is a much longer game. It's got several more levels than this one. I always find for this boss fight, actually, it's best to keep on the second and third row. Mainly because once you've actually fired at the boss, you can make a quick getaway. Not so easy to do on the top too, the top and the bottom. Or just do it like that, I guess. It's better. Okay, stage 3, float islands. Again, I don't really think this level is that tricky or anything like that. Definitely gets harder, don't get me wrong. There's a few more enemy types that are tricky to kill off. Coconuts on the trees as well. If you're not careful, you will get hit by them. I've done that several times. Trying to avoid the cannonball things there. Yeah, these are the coconuts I was talking about. They're quite useful, don't get me wrong, but if they hit you, they will take a bit of health off you. A few spikes around the stage as well, I need to be aware of. So yeah, there's an area down on the left there. I won't go check it out, but I'm sure there's some extra health, something like that. Nice squeeze over the top, yeah. So I can go up. I'm going to go down. I think this is the right route. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Super Smash Bros. Actually, and although I don't use Kirby that much, I do like the fact he can steal other people's abilities. And yeah, it just makes his character a bit more interesting. Reminds me a bit like Yoshi, actually. In Yoshi Island, you can do a few transformations, and most of the Kirby games from this one on did have that ability. So, right, up in the clouds. Let's hover over here. Grab the power up. So, this is the boss fight. Again, there is a bit of a pattern with the bullets, but nothing too difficult to figure out. Just a bit on my toes. One bit of health left, and killed myself. Great. Probably would have helped if I had a bit more health at that point before rushing into the boss fight. Oh well. Couple more hits, that should be it. Nice. Bubbly clouds, right. So, I believe there's 5 stages in total. Now, before the end boss, you do actually replay all the boss fights again. They're all a little bit trickier. But it's kind of a good way to end the game. Bit of a boss rush. Really don't like these enemies. They seem to... if you attack them, they kind of get a bit angry and come after you. Avoid them. Just rushed in a bit too quick there. Right, just drop down. So it's kind of a bit of a maze, this bit. Nothing really hard to figure out though. The routes don't really go anywhere too far off. It's more just for extra health and things. Which I probably should go for, but maybe something will turn up along the way. So the mid-boss... so with the mid-boss, he should throw... Yeah, he throws some bombs out. Just move out of the way. He'll throw an enemy out. Just need to grab it and wait for him to dash across. Rinse and repeat. Perfect. So there should be some health along here. Not that I really need it at this moment, but still. One thing to that's worth considering really is if you pick an enemy up, you will just drop down. So if there's like an off-screen or spikes, you need to be very careful with that. Let's head up here, avoid him if I can. Through the door. Just keep heading up. Should get to the exit pretty quick. So we have the proper boss fight now. Again, he pretty much seems to work in the same way. Definitely trickier to kill off though. So he'll spin around, drop some enemies. Perfect. Grab the star. Another stage done. So this should be the final stage actually. Mount DDD. I've actually used DDD quite a lot in Smash Brothers. A very powerful character, but very, very slow. So, as I mentioned earlier, there's no actual stage in particular. You just redo the bosses from earlier on. Definitely trickier, but there is a part of the stage you need to do first. Unfortunately, with the health, you don't actually pick any up, so... Unfortunately, I just lost a bit of life, but I'm really hoping I can get through this without losing any more. So far, so good. Close one. Should do the job. Awesome, right. Let's go with the eyeball next. It's definitely one of the trickier bosses, so... Waiting for him to do his dash across the screen. Need to be a bit careful of that. Actually, this is going definitely better than what the first round was. One more. Nice. So, I'll go with the tree. Can't imagine this one being that difficult. Right, so duck in to avoid the projectiles and then just wait for the apples to appear. Throw them back. Another one done. So we've got the airship stage, I believe. Really want to be very careful with the spikes. Excellent. Right, so that should leave me with a few, well, 2 bits of health for the final round. So, up against King DD now. Now, the idea really is to grab the stars that he makes appear. The best way of doing this, I find, is when he does a jump, then suck in the stars, throw them back at him. So I'm just going to wait really until he does that. It's not worth risking any health in the meantime. Probably going to take a bit longer than it should, but it'll work out. There we go. Oh. Down to my last bit of health. That wasn't good. Better. As long as there's a bit of space between me and DDD, it really shouldn't be a problem there. Oh. Right, we can get straight back to DDD though. And now that I've actually got all my health back, it shouldn't really be a problem. It's just one of those moments, you'll be playing a game, really enjoying it, and you get to the end boss and everything starts to fall apart. Especially if you don't get continues. Thankfully Kirby does, but don't really want to be using them. There is actually a hard mode as well. Once you complete the game, it does tell you how to activate it. It's just a button combination basically at the title screen. Better. Two more hits. One to go. Come on, just do one final jump for me. There we go. Awesome. So, unfortunately, I did lose a few lives there, but no continue. That's what matters. All the stars returned. Everything is right again in the world. Until the next Kirby game, at least. So yeah, that was Kirby's Dream Land for the Nintendo Game Boy. Really actually enjoy going back through it. It's a very quick game to play. It doesn't really have that much of a challenge to it. But still, it's going to take a while to master. There we go. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you already haven't. Thanks for watching.